Hello and welcome to Wrestling Trope Alert, the channel where we analyze professional wrestling. If this is your first time here, help the channel by clicking the subscribe button. Today we are going back to 2005 and we are going to talk about the rivalry between the late great Eddie Guerrero and Batista. After his stint with Evolution, Batista would capture the World Heavyweight title from Triple H at WrestleMania, and Batista would reign supreme over all the other WWE superstars, and at the same time that Batista was battling Triple H, and later on JBL, Eddie had spent the 2005 year battling his nemesis Rey Mysterio, in a career-defining rivalry that culminated in the SummerSlam 2005 pay-per-view match for the custody of Dominic. And after Eddie Guerrero was finally able to win a match against Rey Mysterio in the September 9th episode of SmackDown, Eddie would go on to his last rivalry ever against Batista. We pick up the story of the Eddie and Batista rivalry on the September 16, 2005 episode of SmackDown. This is the week after Eddie finally managed to win a match against his greatest foe Rey Mysterio. Batista would be shown walking backstage, and Batista would find Christy Hemme and Stacy Keibler in a typical Vince McMahon toilet humor kind of segment, where silly Batista sprays the divas with water, and further down the road Batista would find the fitness guru Simon Dean. Batista the jokester makes Simon spill his product all over this anonymous individual, and then Batista walks away. 5 minutes later, we find the greatest general manager ever, Theodore Long, and the UPN network representative Palmer Cannon, the human embodiment of watching paint dry. Palmer Cannon and Teddy Long are in the ring for a segment meant to nominate a new #1 contender, and the World Heavyweight Champion Batista would join the fun and cut a promo talking about overcoming JBL on the previous pay-per-view SummerSlam. In this segment, Theodore Long implies that his pick for #1 contender is Rey Mysterio.
That man whose high-flying style is world famous.
But Palmer Cannon, the evil network representative, enforces his creative control and announces
Eddie Guerrero!
Eddie Guerrero?
Side note, Teddy's decision would be verified 15 minutes later in a backstage segment, where Teddy Long argues with Palmer Cannon and Cannon's decision to choose Eddie Guerrero over the more deserving Rey Mysterio. Back to the ring segment, Eddie comes out with his new entrance theme. Eddie walks in the ring with his great smug look, Eddie shakes Palmer Cannon's hand, and the reluctant Teddy Long also shakes Eddie's hand. Eddie proceeds to make amends with the crowd and also Batista. Eddie had been portraying an evil character for the better part of the year, and Eddie says that his new addiction is now respect, honor, and doing the right thing.
I'm about love, Holmes! I am the new and improved Eddie Guerrero!
We are led to believe that Eddie is trying to swerve the champion Batista. Eddie then vows to stop the hate, and Eddie thanks Batista for allowing Eddie to be the #1 contender. And Eddie vows to give a great match and performance to the people at the following pay-per-view No Mercy on the 9th of October 2005. Batista then falls into Eddie's trap, and Batista tells Eddie,
We're the two amigos! Orale, I like that! Amigos! Like the three amigos, but there's only two of us!
Eddie tells Batista that both men can come out of this rivalry more than opponents. Both men can come out best friends, and Eddie then offers Batista a hand to shake. And Batista tells Eddie that friends don't shake hands.
Friends got a hug! Give me a hug!
Eddie's facial expression during this hug is priceless. 20 minutes later, in a backstage segment, Nunzio and the future toughest man to ever wear a dress, Vito, are backstage talking with management. Nunzio wants a match because he is the Cruiserweight champion, and apparently hasn't wrestled a match on SmackDown ever since. Eddie tries to stir the pot and volunteers Batista for a match against Nunzio. And this is a return to form for Eddie, the lovable lie, cheat and steal Eddie that all of us enjoy so much. Cannon puts Nunzio in a match against Batista and Eddie rejoices. And later on the broadcast, Batista would take out Nunzio and his crony Vito in under 3 minutes, with Eddie giving Batista the thumbs up but not interfering in the match. On the next SmackDown broadcast, Eddie would be backstage pretending he's hurt. Wrestling trope alert, wrestler fakes being injured to avoid a difficult match. Eddie is back to his more comedic ways as he tries to convince the management team that he is injured somewhere in the gut region, while trying to get out of the scheduled tag team match with Batista against the team of Eminem. Side note, it seems that anytime Eddie is in a rivalry, Eminem is contractually obligated to wrestle Eddie and whoever Eddie happens to tag with. In my other video about Eddie Guerrero and Mysterio, this happens at least 7 times. Links are in the description. Eddie is trying to win an Oscar with his acting, and Eddie then goes off to puke in the bathroom. 30 minutes later, Batista is told by Teddy Long that Eddie has a stomach problem and can't wrestle later tonight. Batista, the problem solver, tells Teddy that Batista has a doctor on the way. Is it Dr. Shelby? 5 minutes later, Eddie is backstage with a medical professional wearing a WWE polo shirt, and then a woman wearing a slutty nurse costume appears to attempt to massage Eddie's pain away. And moments later, Eddie would continue to get worked on by the nurse. The camera would pan away, and the World Heavyweight Champion Batista would be massaging Eddie, and the miraculous hands of Dr. Batista would cure Eddie Guerrero for about 5 seconds. And after that, Eddie gets back to faking his injury. Batista then introduces Dr. Barnett.
Hello, Mr. Guerrero.
Side note, this is a reference to noted Georgia Championship Wrestling owner Jim Barnett.
Oh my boy.
Kayfabe Dr. Barnett then goes on to work on Eddie with the help of Batista. Wrestling trope alert, the WWE's fascination with the insertion of assorted items in the behinds of the wrestlers. In the main event of SmackDown, Eminem would make their entrance, the champion Dave Batista would come out next, the match would begin, and Eddie would come out selling his ass with no entrance music. In the ring, the match carries on, with Eddie struggling and stumbling by the entrance ramp, selling his stomach and his rear end. Eventually, the animal Batista would shake the ropes, Batista bomb, and Eddie would tag himself in to steal the pin from Batista. Frog splash and pinfall for the win in the closing moments of the broadcast.
Batista can't believe it! He did all the work, and he tagged himself in it!
On the following SmackDown broadcast, Eddie and Batista are in a tag team match with the 2005 incarnation of the Legion of Doom. Side note, at this time, LOD is composed of Road Warrior Animal and Ivan Reich, the Poem and Michael Cole aficionado.
I'm gonna share something with you. Are you ready, Michael? It's a poem.
Ahead of the match, Eddie is in a backstage segment trying to eat some Mexican cuisine.
Big Dick Johnson. Oh my God! Oh no! Oh my God! Bishop!
A wild Batista appears and Eddie apologizes for the happenings of last week. Eddie promises that Eddie and Batista will become the best of friends, and Batista is concerned about Eddie's stomach. Batista steals Eddie's meal, leaving Eddie with only tortillas, and eventually Batista would take the tortillas too. 45 minutes later, after the Legion of Doom makes their entrance, Eddie would follow and the World Champion Batista would come out next. Eddie does his best to be in Batista's good side, and Batista makes Eddie believe that he's buying what Eddie is selling. In this match, Eddie would deceive Heidenreich by kissing his boot, and behind the back of referee Charles Robinson,
I'm talking about little nature boy Charles Robinson, you got it?
Eddie low blows Heidenreich. Eddie would then be dominated by LOD, Batista would get the tag and recover control of the match, then Batista would shake the ropes, signaling for his signature move, the Batista Bomb, but Batista would have trouble lifting Heidenreich. And then the WWE booked themselves into a corner as they often do, and Batista and Eddie are too valuable to lose on free TV. And the WWE doesn't want Eddie and Batista to become tag team champions either, so no one can win this match clean, and Eminem would show up to interfere. In the confusion, Eddie would be with a steel chair in his hands, targeting Joey Mercury. Mercury would dodge and Eddie would strike Batista.
What? Oh no!
Eddie would then do his signature chair move, and Eddie would deceive Batista into thinking that Mercury was the culprit of the steel chair. Batista would take care of Mercury and keep the kayfabe alive, and Eddie and Batista would hug each other to close the show. During the month of October, Batista would go on to separate side quests to the land of Monday Nights. The first one would happen on the October 3rd episode of Monday Night Raw, the special homecoming episode of Raw, where the WWE would make their return to longtime broadcast partner, the USA Network. And as it is usual when the WWE wants to spike the ratings, there's legends, someone on the active roster gets buried, and Stone Cold would also appear to stun the entire McMahon family. Batista, along with Rey Mysterio and Benoit, are scheduled to wrestle Guerrero, JBL and Christian. But as soon as the bell rings, Raw's general manager, Eric Bischoff, the Karate Man,
let me tell you about a man who rides side by side with justice. Eric Bischoff, Karate Man. He's an artist with his fist and the canvas is your face.
cuts the match from the show, and the six men will have their lights turned off on them, and Raw would go into a commercial break, and in the ending moments of the Raw broadcast, a brawl would ensue with the SmackDown Superstars taking on the Raw Superstars, in the segment reminiscent of the Invasion storyline. This is the beginning stages of the Survivor Series pay-per-view, where the WWE plans to pit their separate rosters from Raw and SmackDown against each other. The second Batista side quest to the land of Monday Nights would happen nearly a month later, on the October 31st episode of Monday Night Raw. Stone Cold Steve Austin was scheduled to wrestle announcer Jonathan Coachman at the Taboo Tuesday pay-per-view for reinstatement of his friend Jim Ross.
You're fired!
But when Vince McMahon asked Stone Cold to lose the match against Coach because Vince McMahon had plans to replace Jim Ross forever, Stone Cold said no, and Batista would have a short two-day feud with the announcer Jonathan Coachman and his two cronies Goldust and Vader. The following day, Batista would wrestle the three men in a street fight, in the pay-per-view Taboo Tuesday, dubbed the most interactive experience in WWE history, where fans would have the choice of stipulations and opponents for the matches presented, and Batista would come out victorious. I made a video detailing this entire debacle. It's a train wreck that involves Stephanie McMahon, Vince McMahon, Linda McMahon, Jim Ross, and even SmackDown's #1 jobber Funaki. Links are in the description. Back to the story of Batista and Eddie's rivalry. On the October 7, 2005 episode of SmackDown, Eddie would be in a backstage segment wearing a Batista shirt, and Eddie talks about how he went to war with Batista at the previous Raw broadcast. Eddie completely dismisses hitting Batista last week with a steel chair as an accident, and Eddie says that he and Batista are camaradas.
Me and Bautista, somos camaradas, irmãos.
And moments later, Eddie would make his entrance smiling all the way to the ring, trying to sell his new babyface persona to the audience. But the audience is not buying it. Understandably so, because Eddie had just spent the better part of the year terrorizing Rey Mysterio. Eddie would cut a promo to sell the No Mercy pay-per-view 2 days later. Eddie then throws to a video package recapping the SmackDown vs Raw angle, and Eddie wants Batista to know that both men will still be friends after the pay-per-view confrontation. Batista would then make his entrance. Eddie points to Batista that he's wearing a Batista shirt, and Batista hasn't forgotten the steel chair incident the previous week. Batista gets the steel chair handed to him, and Eddie is afraid of Batista's receipt. Batista then gives the steel chair to Eddie, and Batista turns his back on Eddie. Eddie contemplates the moment, and Eddie's feelings are now hurt. Eddie tries to reason with Batista.
I found my soulmate in you.
And Eddie puts the blame on Mercury. Then Eddie tries to leave and Batista stops him. Batista promises Eddie that for now Batista believes Eddie, but revenge will be swift if Eddie ever betrays Batista. Batista drops the mic to emphasize his point. Eddie attempts to convince the world that he is the new and improved Eddie Guerrero, and Eddie plans to prove it later on the main event of SmackDown, where both men would compete on opposing teams. And during the match, Eddie would be tagged in to wrestle Benoit. Eddie and Benoit would wrestle each other, and both men would go toe-to-toe with each other. Batista would eventually get tired of waiting, and Batista would tag himself in. Eddie wants no part of Batista, but eventually Eddie would try to take Batista out, and Batista would reverse. Eddie would try to waistlock Batista, Batista would press slam Eddie, and Eddie is portrayed as being no match for Batista, and Eddie would then tag out to JBL. The referee would then drag Eddie back to his corner, and JBL and Rey, No Mercy opponents, would wrestle each other. Later in the match, JBL would tag in Eddie Guerrero to wrestle Rey Mysterio, and the crowd goes silent as Eddie wrestles Rey. Mysterio would bulldog Eddie Guerrero, and Rey, desperately in need for a tag, would tag Batista, and JBL would also get tagged in. Back body drop, spear on JBL by Batista, Christian would tag himself in, Eddie would pull the rope down on his partner JBL, Christian jumps on Batista for the spine buster, Batista pins Christian with a clean pinfall win. After the match, Eddie would go in the ring to applaud his new friend Batista, and Eddie would then get down on his knees pleading allegiance to Batista. The heels JBL and Christian would then rush Eddie, and coming to the aid of Eddie Guerrero, Batista would save Eddie in a confusing pay-per-view build. Ahead of the No Mercy match, Batista would be in a backstage segment with Eddie Guerrero, where both men wish each other good luck. Eddie Guerrero would be the first one to make his entrance, doing his best to play the babyface, but the people don't quite buy it. Batista would come out next to thunderous applause, and evil Nick Patrick, the NWO referee, officiates his match. Eddie and Batista pace around the ring and face each other. Eddie attempts a single leg takedown, then a double leg takedown. Batista sends Eddie flying, standoff, and the crowd erupts in support of both wrestlers. Fireman's carry into a cover, Batista shakes Eddie off. Another standoff, Eddie and Batista measure their strength, Batista bends Eddie's fingers all the way to the corner, Eddie uses the leverage to kick Batista in the ribs. Batista sends Eddie flying, Eddie leaves the ring to gather his strength. Lock up into a headlock by Batista on Eddie, Eddie drives Batista to the corner, and Eddie drives his shoulder into the gut of Batista. Irish sweep reversal, Eddie in the corner, Eddie dodges, Batista eats the corner turnbuckle. Batista then takes the side headlock on Eddie, Eddie powers through, but Batista manages to keep the hold on Eddie. Eddie gets free and gains momentum off the ropes and heads into Batista's shoulder. Scoop slam, pinfall attempt, and after the ring to gather his thoughts goes Eddie again. Eddie then drops the veil of babyface deceit and goes for a share, while the referee Nick Patrick in the ring is counting Eddie out. Eddie comes to his senses and drops the share. Batista then catches Eddie by the neck and Eddie takes advantage of the situation, and Batista gets a dose of top rope violence, and conveniently Batista falls down to the mat, and Eddie goes for his signature move, the frog splash. Batista rolls to his stomach and Eddie falls on Batista's back. Near fall, but Batista kicks out and Eddie then applies a submission move on Batista. Batista manages to get back to a vertical base wearing Eddie as a backpack, and Batista drives Eddie to the corner and manages to release himself. Eddie proceeds to work on Batista's back with a drop kick followed by a single leg Boston Crab, which Batista managed to break by holding the ropes. Eddie would then tease going back to his evil ways by untying the corner turnbuckle, but would come to his senses doing his best to be a good boy. Another submission hold focused on Batista's back, Batista lifts Eddie into a bear hug and Eddie counters with a slap to the head, punt to Batista's face, drop toe hold on Batista, and Eddie would try to go for the Texas Cloverleaf. Batista would reverse Eddie's offense into a small package and a near fall. Eddie then backs Batista into a corner, slaps the huge chest of Batista, Irish whip reversal, Eddie goes over the top of Batista and Eddie crashes into the referee. The referee is down and Eddie plants Batista with a DDT. Eddie grins and classic Eddie Guerrero leaves the ring to procure a steel chair. Eddie then struggles with his actions and deep down Eddie, at least in part, doesn't want to go down the hill path of winning matches. Batista snaps out of his kayfabe comatose state and Batista sees Eddie tossing the chair outside. Insane with anger, the animal Batista's eyes pierce Eddie's soul, and Eddie strikes Batista and Batista responds with some shoulders and a clothesline. Irish whip to the corner, back body drop and spear by Batista on Eddie. Batista shakes the ropes and goes for his power bomb. Eddie manages to counter into a sunset flip, but Batista won't fall down, and even his spinebuster on Eddie would hurt Batista. Batista would attempt a pinfall on Eddie, followed by dropping an elbow, and Eddie would knee Batista. Eddie kicks Batista in the stomach and goes for his signature maneuver. 1, 2, 3 amigos. Eddie would then climb the corner and jump on Batista, but Batista dodges. Spinebuster by Batista, pinfall, and Batista retains his World Heavyweight Champion, and after the match, both men would make amends and shake hands. After the No Mercy pay-per-view, Eddie and Batista's rivalry would take a backseat to the build for the Survivor Series pay-per-view and the SmackDown vs. Raw storyline. Batista would come to the aid of Eddie Guerrero in a match for the #1 contender spot against Randy Orton, after Orton's father, Cowboy Bob Orton, causes the legend killer Randy Orton to be disqualified. In the following week, Eddie would show regret about the treatment of Rey Mysterio at the hands of the Raw roster in a backstage segment.
You know, just watching what happened to Ray right now just brought me back to a bad place. Yeah. Things that I did. I'm upset at myself. I can't believe the road that I took.
And moments later, Randy Orton would enlist the help of Ken Kennedy to wrestle Eddie and Batista in a match where Eddie would lay his body on the line to protect his friend Batista from a steel chair attack, leading to the end of the match by disqualification and Randy Orton's father, Cowboy Bob Orton, hitting Batista with a cowboy boot to the back. The following week, Eddie would return to using a lowrider for his entrance, a gift from his now friend Dave Batista. Roddy Piper would be added to the team of Batista and Eddie against a team of Ken Kennedy, Randy and Bob Orton. This match would heavily capitalize on nostalgia, and the legends would battle it out, and after Eddie frog splashes Kennedy, Piper would put Cowboy Bob Orton in a sleeper hold, and the Cowboy would go down, and the babyfaces would win this match in a sweet nostalgic feeling moment. Eddie would have his last tag team match with Batista on the November 4th episode of SmackDown. Batista and Eddie would arrive in style in a lowrider, and both men would wrestle M&M for the tag team titles. Eddie and Batista would work in tandem as a well-oiled machine in this match, and Eddie would lie, cheat and steal to try to win this match. And after Eddie gives a backbreaker to Mercury, Batista would get tagged in, and Batista would take out M&M with with a pair of spine busters. Eddie would deliver his signature offense, the Three Amigos, and Melina would supply a pair of brass knuckles to Mercury. Eddie frog splashes Melina, then Mercury strikes Eddie with the brass knuckles, Eminem would win this match with a small package, and Eminem would retain the tag team titles. On the November 11th episode of SmackDown, the entire SmackDown roster would be backstage selling the Survivor Series battle between the WWE's brands SmackDown and Raw. Batista would be scheduled to wrestle Raw superstar Edge, but that match would end in a violent brawl between Raw and SmackDown, and the SmackDown broadcast would end with the Raw superstars prevailing over the superstars of SmackDown. Eddie Guerrero's last wrestling match would happen on this broadcast. Eddie would wrestle for the last time ever, competing in a spot for the Survivor Series match. A normal, everyday match where nothing seems out of place. Eddie would deliver his last Three Amigos ever, and Eddie would make use of his trademark lie, shit and steal arsenal. And after the referee is taken out, Eddie would smile to the audience for the last time and source a steel chair. Eddie would strike the mat with the chair and throw the chair to Kennedy. The referee would turn to find Eddie laying on the mat and Kennedy holding the chair. Kennedy would be disqualified and Eddie Guerrero would win his last match ever. After the match, Ken Kennedy would strike Eddie with a chair to the head, something that Ken Kennedy probably regrets after what transpired later. Eddie would be backstage with Batista in the doctor's office, and this would be Eddie's last televised moment ever. On the 13th of November, Eddie Guerrero would pass away from heart-related problems in the arms of his nephew Chavo Guerrero at the young age of 38 years old.